Um, Welcome back, everybody. And my name is Brandon Bag, and I'm sitting here with Tiffany Rivera. How are you?
Great.
Great.
Doing really good.
Can I pour you a mezcal?
Yes, please.
It is a theme of the show. So when was your? I saw you recently. You had a gig at Guilt, like within the last month, right?
Yeah. I believe
That was Soul Queens.
It was Soul Queens.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Marie.
With Marie, and can you tell me a little bit about the evolution of that show? Because it's a really fun show. You guys tear the house down every time, and you're playing like, you're playing Whitney and Mariah, and you can you can talk about more who you're playing.
All the Soul Queens.
But what was where'd that show come from?
Well, originally.
Cheers, by the way.
Oh yes, of course. First things first. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Distracted. Nice
It's good.
that was.
It's good. Here's the bottle. If you want to look at it. Little product placement.
Fun. All right. Oh yeah, it's like smoky. Anyway, okay. So, well, that show came about first, I believe, Johnny Tobin and
Yep.
Marie Huey. They wanted to create a show based on songs by the Queens of Soul, and because they are Queens of Soul and their voices are big and incredible, and so are their songs, Marie felt that it would be better to share the stage with another singer to do all that. Because for one person to do a full night of that kind of music, that would be taxing, I think, on any vocalist. So so then they brought me on board, and I believe that was in 2018 or 2019.
In the before time?
Yes, in the before time.
Before time.
Yeah.
One of my staff today came up to me and told me that they were going back to this is like a social media gig that they do, where they're managing some social media platform for different companies that I don't really know the details. Mm-hmm. But she just casually mentioned that she actually did it almost full time before the pandemic. And I was like, we had lives before the pandemic with like hopes and dreams and aspirations and things we wanted to do.
It's like, what?
It's totally, it's a cultural shift in everyone's mind of like pre and before. Like you still go on you walk into elevators and stuff and they still have like the mask sign on.
I know.
Or the bank still has the social distancing signs, and everyone's just like crammed together again. Yeah. It's like it never happened, but it did.
Totally did. Yeah, which is kind of, it's funny. It feels like those years just didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah, well, what everyone was calling, I remember when 2022 hit, everyone was calling it 2022, as in 2020 part 2.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not me, but interesting. Okay,
Some people were calling it that, I guess.
Yeah. But I mean,
you cool kids didn't use those nerdy terms that we did.
I don't know if I'm the cool one.
Well, I'm definitely not. I've never been the cool one.
You're the one doing the podcast.
You're the one on the podcast. I'm just the nerd hosting it. Were you always was soul music always a big influence of you, or that era of Soul Queens?
I would say yes. So growing up, always wanted to sing songs by Whitney and Aretha and all of that, and it wasn't easy. It's not easy music, right? And so it was like always something I had to work towards.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
How many? Whitney had like how many octaves she could hit easily? Like 6?
Oh, something like that.
Something crazy like that. Just
no big deal. Mariah too.
Because when you guys do that show, you do "I Will Always Love You," right? Yeah, which is not like, I mean, and obviously it's not an easy song to sing. Like I know what the fuck I'm talking about because I don't. But it's all over the place. It doesn't seem like it's an easy song. It's like when you listen to people do Journey karaoke, you're like, oh,
It's like,
I don't know if you're gonna.
good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck. It's quite the feat.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, singing those high whistle tones and then having to come back down low to tell the story, because it's not just about the singing the
It's
song
the story
too. It's
too,
about
right?
the story, which Whitney was so incredible at doing.
Yeah, she was such a baby when she started out. Like
Yeah.
the video for every time that video, and I'm not embarrassed to say it comes on a lot in my house when I have people over. Is the video for I Want to Dance with Somebody? Somebody will just put it on.
Yeah.
And every time I look at it,
Classic.
I'm astounded by how she was like 20 in that. She was barely
So
over
little.
20.
Baby.
Yeah,
And her voice was like, she
yeah,
was like,
just powerhouse.
30, 40.
Do you have any? Did you do any formal training or anything?
I've been taking lessons since I was real little. So I think I was 6 years old when I
6.
started. Yeah. My parents asked me one day if I would be interested in something like that. And I mean, I grew up with,
Did they ask you because you were doing it around the house with a hairbrush?
well, there was, they had VHS karaoke tapes. That was, I mean, being a Filipino.
Jay Esplanas.
Yeah.
He's told me about the and I also spent a
Yeah.
month at sea with a Filipino crew, and we all sang karaoke
Nice.
together.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So it's a national sport over there.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's what Jay Esplana says.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, and so they had the microphone and everything. And so learned a few songs. And I guess my parents were like, oh, she can actually sing in tune.
Yeah.
And what's actually really funny is that the singing teacher that I had gone to is the same vocal teacher as Jay.
Yeah, didn't you
Growing
guys
up.
grow up together?
We did grow up together.
Same school and everything?
Yep, since kindergarten.
Since kindergarten.
I know.
Yeah. Are there any like epic Tiffany J fights that,
Fight?
Yeah. You guys have any like
Oh, God.
like elementary school feuds that
I wouldn't know.
that the world doesn't know about?
No feuds. Just lots of love. I think I grew up with the biggest crush on Jay.
Really?
Yes, at 5, actually. I think at 5 years old. And so
Well, I had a crush on Jay at 35.
Oh,
so.
yeah. I think everyone has a crush on Jay. Whoops. Yeah. So at the age of 5, definitely had a crush. I remember seeing him perform at that age too, and was just so mesmerized. I don't know if it was because of him, maybe, most likely, but also because it was probably something I wanted to do too. And so when my parents told me that it would be the same vocal teacher as Jay, I was like, wow.
It was exciting.
Yeah.
And how old were you at the time?
6.
6?
Yeah.
And you've been training ever since?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it doesn't show.
Well, good.
You don't look like someone that knows what they're doing, is what I'm saying.
Oh, boy.
Did you go to school, or was it just private training the whole way through?
Private training, and then was involved in so many different things. So choir was a huge part of my upbringing. First in the church choir, and then high school choir was really, really important to me.
I was in high school choir.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
And which part did you sing?
I sang the
Bass.
where they couldn't see me because
Yeah.
I was there. I was there to hit on girls.
Good for you. Good for you. That's the best place to go and look for them.
Yeah, they weren't that fond of me because I was making the choir sound like shit. So it kind of backfired on me.
Oops. Yeah. So competed and all that, but also grew up with doing a lot of musical theater. As well.
Awesome! I love musical theater. I did
Yeah.
musical theater in high school, but I didn't do it beyond that because I wasn't really good enough to be doing musical theater. Do you have a favorite musical theater show that you've done, or a favorite musical?
Oh, well, my favorite musical would have to be Fiddler on the Roof. Yeah.
Oh my God.
What?
I know that whole fucking show by heart.
Right.
That's like one of my all-time favorites. I think it might be my all-time favorite musical.
Oh,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. Tradition.
Yeah. Da, 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 da.
It's so good. It's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
I remember in elementary, we put that on, that musical,
What'd you play?
and I played Hoddle.
Played Hoddle?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she had the big solo when she had to leave to get on that train, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, that was me. But yeah.
I've always wanted to play Reptevia, but I don't think it's going to happen.
You should try.
I should try.
Just go for it.
Yeah. I think we're past the days where they let, like, waspy middle-aged white dudes play Jewish people from the turn of the century Soviet Union.
Darn.
They
don't know what they're missing.
I missed my calling. Do you still do any kind of musical theater?
Currently, no. Yeah.
Currently, no. When was the last time?
Probably in high school.
In high school?
Yeah. And from there, I joined a glee choir. So
Cool.
It was kind of like, it was made up of a bunch of musical theater kids.
Mm-hmm.
And we performed all over the Lower Mainland. It was a lot of fun.
It's just like the show, right?
Pardon me?
It's just like the show, right?
Not as dramatic, but yeah.
Did you watch that show when it came out?
I did.
It did?
Yeah, pretty religiously until Corey Monteith died. And then I was like, no.
They continued it after that?
Yeah, they did.
I thought he died after the show was done.
No, he died during.
Yeah, I think he just died after I stopped watching it. Because I when it came out, I loved it because it not only was the music great, but it was a really clever satire.
Yeah.
And then it turned into like a teenage soap opera.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Yep.
Much like many other things.
Yeah.
Would you ever go back to musical theater? Is it something that you ever could see yourself doing again?
I've always dreamed of it, but I just don't think that I'm a good enough actor.
Right.
Which is like, of the three, I can sing, I can dance, right?
So you got 2 out of the 3.
Yeah.
I only ever had 1 out of the 3. I was like, I'm a decent actor, but I got 2 left feet, and I'm not a great singer. If you want like a bad Johnny Cash impersonation, I'm your guy. But beyond that, but I think a lot of performers that are singers and dancers sell themselves short in the acting department because it's like anything else, it's a tool that you can train to do.
That's true.
Yeah, and I've seen you on stage. You could rock musical theater. I
would love to, like to sing like songs from Wicked, for example, or I don't know. They turned a lot of Disney movies into musicals too.
Yeah.
Right, and so one thing I've always wanted to be a Disney princess. I think that is one thing I've always wanted to do. I've
always wanted to be a superhero. Like Disney princess, superhero, 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Have you seen any I was just in I was in London in like Mayish. Mm-hmm. And like I grew up since high school in the theater. I went to theater school, loved the theater. Not just musical theater, but everything about it. Trained at Studio 58. To see the shows in London, it's everywhere. And then going to see, I saw Book of Mormon, which is a musical, and it's fucking brilliant. But just the caliber of show was something that I had never been exposed to. Not to say that the shows that we do here aren't amazing in their own right, but they're just not playing with the same tool set. Mm-hmm. Like you go to London or New York, and they're big budget shows. These guys have got a lot of money, and they're able to do the production value that they're able to do, and the playground that these actors have. It just elevates it to such a level. It was really neat for me to see. Have you seen any shows over there?
I've seen a few shows on Broadway.
Broadway, yeah.
And it's
love to see something on Broadway. I never have.
Definitely a whole other level.
I
would love to go to London to see a few shows. They were musicals.
Which ones?
I watched Jersey Boys.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Phantom of the Opera. And
Didn't that just leave Broadway?
Did it? Oh, that's sad. I actually really like that musical too.
I thought it was one of the ones that like
That
it's one of
it
the
was
longest.
done.
It's one of the longest running shows ever. I think, right?
Yeah. Phantom was great to watch. Yeah, just theatrics, all of like, coming from the ceiling and flying over the crowd and things like that. Yeah.
So going from like being involved with musical theater and glee club and
you
choir.
can say that. Yeah.
Glee is just the show, right?
Yes. Yeah. Glee is just the show.
What brought you into gigging? I'm like drawing a path with my hand. Like, where did that end up with you?
I guess. Well, I went to jazz school. I went to CAP.
You did. You go to CAP. Went to CAP.
I did go to CAP.
There are a lot of them I've had on this show. A lot of my guests have been CAP grads, but there's so many amazing artists in the city that have gone through CAP.
Yeah. I mean, the training I had there was great. It's definitely created a well-rounded musician in myself.
Yeah.
And so I went there, got a little bit of training. I actually didn't finish the degree. I went into music therapy actually.
Neat.
But I always wanted to perform, and like that was always something that I just naturally wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so even though I did go into music therapy, which I did because I really didn't see myself becoming a jazz singer for the rest of my life. So I was like, well, I need to make money somehow. And so I went to music therapy. But even through that program and with like performing was still something that really like that I held on to. And so I reconnected with Jay actually. And he had an opening in one of his bands. And so
that wasn't Soul Queen, so was it?
No. So that would be, it was called Electric. They're still around. Jay and I aren't in it anymore, but it's called Electric Ballroom. And they do like the corporate, and they're like a corporate event band to the casinos.
You do a lot of corporate gigs, right?
I do, yes.
Do you work for the same company as Bradley?
I do, yep.
Yeah, which help me out here. What's it?
Famous
Players.
Yeah, I sing with them and a whole bunch of other.
Do you how does it work with as a vocalist for Famous Players? Do you do you and Bradley ever work together, or are you two cards that they draw from the hat? It's like they're either getting you or they're getting Bradley.
I am a sub.
Right.
So if they need a singer, then I jump in and I know the material and the choreography and I hop right in. I think Bradley is
Bradley Barkman, by the way, is who we're talking about. He's been on the show.
He is like like an official member. So,
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've definitely sung, like we sung together last weekend, which was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. And so, yeah, with all of these bands, I am a sub. And so they're like, we need a singer. Who can we call? Tiff. And so if I'm free.
Yeah. You must need need to have a pretty impressive catalog of songs you can pull out of the hat to be able to pull that off. Yeah.
Well, I definitely have a really long list.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of built over the years. And I've had to learn so many different set lists. Famous Players. There's also 10 Soldiers.
What's 10 Soldiers?
It's another corporate event band.
Corporate event.
Same with the Phonics. So these are all corporate event bands. But like I've learned Jay Esplana's set list because I sing backup for him. I've learned, there's Soul Queens. We have our 555 Soul band as well. There's, what else? I've sung a lot with Mike Henry recently.
Yeah.
So
I
a
actually
lot
think
of
I
the
saw that
Motown
on your Facebook page. Something with Mike Henry.
yeah. A lot of the Motown stuff, and that's like the older soul and disco, and
Mike's
which
great.
is also really fun. Yeah, he's amazing.
His shows are awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you sing at his last guild show?
I did not, but I think pretty sure I'll be at the next one. So
Oh, cool. Which is when?
that'll be fun. I think in January.
January.
Yeah.
You have anything else coming up at Guilt you want to do a quick plug for, or is January the next one?
January's the next one. So 555 Soul will be, and that's with Jay Espana and Maria Legiata. And the three of us will be there, oh boy, January 5th? I think that's the Friday. Mm-hmm. And then on the 6th, they'll be there again with Mike Henry.
What's your, because we're talking about all these catalogs and set lists that you have to just know, and you can't afford to like sort of know them. Mm-hmm. You have to know them inside and out, backwards and forwards, because you never know the environment that you're going to be singing them in. You never know. You could be in a casino. You could be in someone's corporate gig in someone's house. You could be in a convention center. You could be in a dark bar. You could be in Guilt & Co. Mm-hmm. Do you have a specific process for how do you like assimilate? I mean, for lack of a better term, you're assimilating information, right? It's information that the artist speaks, but it's just data that you have to know. Yeah. Like how do you fit it all in an artistic way?
Well, I guess with music and with performing and whatnot, it all comes down to, I think, who your audience is.
Totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's going to be an older crowd, you got to think about what music they generally enjoyed in their early 20s or in their late teens, right? Or
it's never ending. We all just continue to listen to the same shit we listened to from like 15 to 25. We're gonna listen to that same crap for the next 50 years of our lives.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm partying at 50, I want to hear Usher.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like I didn't even really like Usher when it was around, but when it comes on, I'm like, I was alive for that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it all comes down to the audience, and then also like what vibe is going, like what's the vibe here? So if people just want music in the background, maybe you play everything a little more chill. But if people are ready to party, it's like let's ramp up all the dance tunes. And,
How do you approach learning? Do you approach music differently? Learning music differently if it's stuff that you knew or that you've known, like you grew up with. It's a song. It's an earworm. You know it. Mm-hmm. Or if it's like completely new raw material that you don't know. Do you approach learning those two things differently? Is it like a different?
Yeah, I would. If it's something I've already, that I already know, I guess I don't spend as much time on it because it's like sort of the things where it's like,
I got this one.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great. Maybe go over it in case there are some interesting notes you forgot about. But with new material, my personal process is creating my lyric sheets, right. And like listening to the song and creating those lyric sheets, and then that helps me learn the song and learn the form and where it goes and all of that. And then, yeah.
Have you always had a connection to lyrics, or like, is it something that, like, do you learn? Because the voice is obviously it's an instrument, mm-hmm. but it's also a tool of to be, corny. It's a tool of poetry as well, right? Mm-hmm. And lyrics are something that, I guess original question. Have you always had a personal connection with lyrics when you're learning music?
Yes, I always try to find like the meaning and the story. Mm-hmm. And if it's a song that really doesn't have that, it can actually be harder to learn because then I don't really connect with it.
Yeah, I had, who was it? Kate Young. She was talking about something similar when I had her on. She was talking about how she actually monologues songs when she's learning them because she's theater background as well.
Right.
So goes this story route. So mm-hmm. It's interesting to hear.
Yeah. I also used to teach music as well, and private voice lessons and whatnot. And so that was also something.
Are you an instrumentalist as well?
I can play a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not.
You understand this?
I'm not an expert.
So you can pick instruments up.
Yeah. But definitely voice is my main.
Yeah.
And so, and one thing I always told my students is, and what I do also when I'm learning a song is is to read it as a sentence. And then what words do you emphasize? And then with that, that's how you contour your singing. And that's how you get expression.
Yeah.
Right. And then,
Were you one of those kids that when you bought would sit with
CD?
lyric sheets when you bought a CD? Yeah. Words from the before time.
Yeah. before.
before. I miss CDs. They were such a cool little compact, delightful way of purchasing and in integrating music into your life. I don't miss them enough to continue to buy them.
Yeah. Especially when they start to skip, and that was so fun.
But I remember being a kid coming home, my parents, because I always loved music, and my parents always knew I loved music. So every birthday or Christmas, I could guarantee there would always be 1 or 2 gift certificates. All the relatives that didn't know, I got Brandon's name for Christmas this year. What do I get him? Get him a CD gift certificate. So I'd always I remember going in, being 12 years old, having a combination of gift certificates for Virgin Music or A&B Sound or whatever they were before they all went bankrupt. And having I got $57, I got $55, I got $60, getting the best combination of music that you should possibly get for that amount. And it would always be okay, I want to get at least one new CD so that I have one new album that all the cool kids are talking about, something new and fresh that, but then also was into stuff that my parents were into because I grew up listening to their records. I could also go to the bargain bin of stuff that's 40 years old. I could buy stuff from over there.
It's brilliant.
So there was an algorithm of where to collect the, but then I would take them home, and if it had a lyric sheet, I remember I would listen to the whole album, reading all the lyrics as you're going through the album. And that was such a beautiful way to assimilate music that I don't think that we do as much anymore. I don't.
No, not really. I mean, I guess on Spotify they
have the lyrics now. So maybe kids are doing that. Maybe it's something that because I don't know. I don't.
But is it the same?
Is it?
Is it really the same?
It's honestly, I don't even care if it's the same as long as they're doing it with the same feeling.
Yeah.
As long as if there's some version of us out there that's still taking in music that way in whatever medium it is, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
So were you one of those kids?
I definitely was one of those kids in my bedroom with my stereo, and as I said, Usher was was one.
No, Usher was
for sure
bigger than the planet. 1998, there was nothing bigger than Usher. Yeah. He was everyone thought he was going to be the new Michael Jackson, and then everyone was really glad when he didn't become the new Michael Jackson.
Because he just was. So, whole other level.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew all those lyrics, and just the nostalgia of doing all of that. I guess something that's similar to that today is record, vinyl records.
Totally. It's
that's coming back, I guess.
Yeah. And I think it's coming back from music lovers. It's really something that's there's a niche market for it because no one's making. I don't think anyone's making their nut on vinyl sales, except for
Taylor Swift.
Well, yeah, but she's a special case because she's a fucking genius.
Yeah, agreed.
I thought that was such a gangster move with her re-recording all of her albums.
Yeah.
When I heard that, I've never been really into her music. I've never not liked it. It's good pop music. It was never my thing.
Yeah.
But when I heard that story of her. Re-recording all of her albums so that she had the rights to the mixes. Is that what it was?
Yeah. I think
Yeah,
so.
it's just like, oh, that's such a badass move.
I
'Cause
know.
that's so much bloody
It's
work.
so,
It's not like
and
she
it's smart.
financially needs to do it. It's
Exactly.
just like a gigantic fuck you to the
Yeah.
record company.
Pretty much. It's like totally shows like, yeah, how smart she is and you know, that she's more than just a singer, songwriter,
Yeah.
you know, teen performer or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Do you do any writing?
I have, and I think that I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so it's a slow process for me. But I have dabbled a little bit in writing, and yeah, and even collaborated with some musicians in town, like you know, Mike Marinick.
Yeah.
With him and whatnot, and
He was in he's in Sophia Denai's band, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's Sophia Denai, Jan who's also in Sophia Denai's band.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Jan and I worked together at Chilwinston for years.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
What a small world.
Super small world, yeah. Yeah, and her record that she released in I want to say like 2017, 2018. So it's the only one that I know really well, but it's a killer album.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, it's the one with
Beautiful writing.
there's a lyric in there that I love that's so good. I'm gonna butcher it, but see if I can remember it. It's someday you're gonna have a daughter. Fuck. I'm gonna see if I can come back to it.
Okay.
It's a really beautiful.
Okay.
It's a really beautiful line. If not, I'll look it up and I'll text it to you later and find a way to put it up somehow.
Yeah.
Somehow, it's like philosophical moments with Brandon Beck. There's a lyric I like. It's about a daughter or something like that. I can't remember what it is, but it's good. It's good.
Yeah, I remember that album. I think that's how I got to work with Mike at first, was singing backup for Sophia.
Oh, cool! I didn't realize you sang back with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That feels like a whole lifetime ago.
Yeah, I've never actually met Sophia, but there was a time where she came into. It was around the time of that album. She was coming into Guilt like semi-regularly, and I would always play this game where I would put on her album.
Oh, while she was there.
While she was there
That's amazing.
to see if she would like do anything. To this day, I don't know if she ever because she was always, but it would be like in between songs and in between sets, and I'd put on like 2 or 3 tracks from her album. And it's easy to kind of ignore everything that's around you in that room sometimes, in between sets, because it's when all the shifts happen.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, because the focus is the music.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's what we're there for. But then some between sets, especially when we don't have a DJ, like if it's a weekday, there's this weird shift in the room where no one's kind of like really. So I would put on her music when she was there, and I never saw her react. So she's either like cool as a cucumber and was just like, or she just didn't notice.
She's pretty cool.
Probably the former.
Yeah.
I would say.
Cool as a cucumber. For sure.
So do you have any writing projects coming up or anything that you're working on? Or is it just something that you kind of always have backburnered?
It is something that I've always kind of that's kind of in the back. Currently I'm more focused on performing. But it is something that I've always wanted to do. Just as a singer. I mean, I guess, being 9 years old and listening to Britney Spears and thinking that like one day I'm going to be a pop singer and I'm going to sing my own songs and learn choreography and perform and do all that. So it is something that I definitely want to do before I leave this world. Yeah. I'd say.
Yeah. How long did you teach?
7 years.
7 years. And it's in the past, or it's just you're not doing it right now?
It is currently it is in the past.
You're like, I'm fucking done with those snot-nosed brats. Ungrateful little shits with their rich parents. telling me about how talented their fucking kids are.
I
I just had Jim Black on, who's like loves teaching, and we didn't talk about it at all because I'm an idiot sometimes and I don't bring up important things. But he's like this amazing, like beautiful guy. Do you know Jim Black?
Yes, I do.
And we sat here like after the camera stopped rolling. He started talking about teaching, and he's a really, really wonderful guy, very insightful. And here I am, like just talking about teaching. Like it's like every teacher hates it, and he loves it. So what do I know?
I actually really enjoyed it, and I think that I was really good at it, or am. Good,
Did you only teach privately, or did you teach?
I taught privately, and then I taught music at a school.
Oh, really?
Called Fraser Academy. So it's a school for kids with dyslexia and learning-based differences, and I ran their junior music program.
Yeah.
And it was a rock band program.
Cool.
So essentially kind of teaching the kids what I do, which was fun, and it was really fulfilling.
Did you find, like, I don't know, I've never really talked to anyone about, I know that like obviously dyslexia, because I don't know much about it, but it's the main thing that everybody knows about it is if you have dyslexia, it's really hard to read. My brothers are both a little bit dyslexic, and if they weren't homeschooled, if my mom hadn't like dedicated her existence at the time to teach them both to read, they might still really struggle. And they're both really avid writers and avid readers. Mm-hmm. Did you find that it was like, in teaching music to people with dyslexia, is it a language that people with dyslexia struggle with, or is it something that it's easier for them to assimilate?
There were certain aspects of it that were really difficult, I think.
Imagine reading music would be difficult,
yes.
the same way reading is.
Yeah. So I had to adapt everything for them so that they could feel that success. Just because everything else, all the other subjects that they were doing in school were tricky and were tough, right? And so I wanted music to be somewhere where it could be a safe place for them to just be and be creative, and I think that music has a lot of repetition and is very cyclical, right? And which was really good for them in their brains as well, I think. And I think that music also activates the brain so differently than any other activity. It's like kind of activates every aspect of your brain, so it like can really help to solidify certain neural connections that they were developing in other classes.
Yeah. Is that did you get to that via your training as a music therapist?
I guess you could say I did, because the gentleman who had the position at the school before me, he was a classmate of mine in the program, and he had success with that particular job because of our music therapy degree, and I think that I excelled with it as well because of that training, for sure.
Yeah, I have a friend who's just, time flies, so I don't know. She might be pretty close to finishing. She might be finishing. You might know her, Morgan Stedman. She's used to work at Gilton Company, and she still plays there pretty regularly. She does some early shows every once in a while. Yes. She's again, like I said, I don't know where she is with it, but she was going to school for music therapy. She might have just recently finished. Forgot why I brought that up, but my question is, what specifically drew you to music therapy? Because to me, music, like there's the saying, right? Music soothes even the savage beast, right? Everyone knows that colloquialism, or that, I think you know what I'm trying to say. Is there something specific that drew you to that realm of where art meets academia?
For me, I think it's because my very first, I guess, look into what music therapy could be was actually through my mom. She works at a nursing home, and so they would have a music therapist there working with with geriatrics and seniors, and just seeing how they could use music as that tool to, I guess, to bring them out of some of their states and bring life back into them.
Yeah, I've heard crazy stories about Alzheimer's patients, like having like really significant bouts of lucidity because of music. I don't know if there's any truth to it, but just stuff that I've heard on the interwebs. But
yeah, it's definitely, as I said earlier about, you know, how music kind of activates your whole brain, and how people are more drawn to the music that they listened to when they were 15 versus maybe things that are
well,
current.
is there an actual, I mean, there's got to be a scientific reason for that. Do you know what it is?
I mean, there is a scientific reason.
I do.
And I was like, do I remember the exact science?
I learned it in school.
I did.
Scout, I'll trade. You talk about this, and afterwards I'll talk about something that I learned in school that I don't remember that well.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I'm totally lying.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get you to talk about this, and then I'm gonna change the subject afterwards, and hope that you don't remember what the agreement was.
There is a science to it. I don't know that I remember all the lingo and all of that, but I don't know. But I've always known for myself that that music, there's something about music that doesn't just, it's not just something that comes in our ears and, you know, we enjoy it, yes, but like it, I don't know, I think it also, when we find something that we really love with music, it kind of hits your soul and really affects you in more than just, yeah. And I guess, oh gosh, now I've lost my train of thought. With
why we're
we
drawn
here?
to what we listen to at 15, and
Yes.
is there science behind that?
Yeah, can't say that.
You gotta tell me, because I'm gonna take this out of the world and I'm gonna mansplain the shit out of people with it. So.
Don't do that. Explanation is terrible right now.
But so are most mansplain explanations. So just like give me like a little bit to go on, and I'll just like pretend like I know what I'm talking about later down the line.
Well, I guess it just has to do with, I don't know, people. What do people call it these days? Core memories.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Like from Inside Out.
Yeah. They're coming with the second one. But yes, that's
Which is
right.
going to be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Because that first one was super good.
Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, so just, I guess, which is why we can also remember lyrics to songs, even though we
From when we were kids.
Yeah, even though we haven't heard them in years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me terribly explaining the
It's all good.
science of that. Sorry, I wish I could have done better with that. Oh gosh, yeah.
I think what's so neat to me about music is truly the universal language, right?
Yeah.
It's I mean, some people say it's math or science, but what do those people know?
Yeah.
Scientists. It's not like they've done anything for us lately. But no, I think it's truly, there's something truly beautiful about the reaction that people have to, I mean, people can be worlds apart economically, socially, politically, and have the same visceral gut reaction to the same four notes.
Yeah.
And it's just the way that like music transcends economics, transcends political beliefs. It's something bigger than all of us. And it's like, you know, there's this cheesy, like, we're going to heal the world with the best rock concert ever. And like nothing ever happens, but there's something to that ideology, because there's, and the fact that there's only an octave. There's only so many notes. There's only so many combinations.
Yeah.
Everything that's done that we do has probably been done in some variations across the existence of humanity.
Yeah.
And with that same combination, you can create bluegrass and you can create Usher.
Yeah. Pop and hip
And I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's what makes And so music therapy is something that's always fascinated me because music has always been my therapy. It's always been, not to discount actual therapists and actual therapy and actual music therapists, but the, personal, self-therapy. I've always, and we do it instinctively when we're teenagers. You go into your room when you got a broken heart and you listen to 15 sad records over and over and over again. Yeah. And, you think you're wallowing in your self-pity, but it's that process. It's going through it. And it's actually, it's cathartic to sit there and know that someone else in the universe across whatever it is has gone through this and feels this. And you can connect to that tiny little piece of lyric or tiny little note. So
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Cheers to
that. So do you have any, you're not doing music therapy professionally, right?
No, not anymore.
Do you draw from that as a performer?
That's a really good question. I think that I do. It's not always conscious, and I'm probably at a more subconscious level. But I remember when I was training to be a music therapist, it wasn't just that you would sing and play the music, but it's also the way that you would express it as well. Right? And which is how you would get clients to, I guess, how you would connect with clients and build that rapport. And so, like if I were to just go on the Gelton Coast stage and just stand there and sing a bunch of tunes, I could do that. And, it would sound good and maybe people would be impressed. But I think what really makes, for example, the Soul Queen show so incredible is that we don't just sing the songs. We get the audience involved. We sing to them, right? And it's that connection, I think, that is similar with music therapy. Yeah. And I'm sure some of the audience members probably feel that something like that could be therapeutic in a way.
Have you ever gone to a show feeling terrible and walked away from it feeling amazing?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have.
It's like I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm like not in the right headspace. You get dragged or a friend takes you or whatever it is. Yeah. And it's that one moment in the show or that one song where you're just like, I'm glad I'm here. I needed this.
Yeah. And it just for me it was watching Mumford and Sons for the first time. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think it was I've never seen them live. Oh.
I'm like, I drink a lot. I gotta think.
Yeah. It was an incredible show. I mean, I had never.
Did you see him here? Or?
Yes. Yeah. I think they were playing at an outdoor venue in Surrey.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah, which was really cool. At the time, it was during the summer years ago, and that summer, my dad was he was fighting cancer, and basically the doctors had said like he's got 6 months, right? So it was a pretty rough summer for me. But my friend was like, got an extra ticket, want to come? I was like, well, sure. I'm like, I don't really listen to them, but how can I turn down watching a show? And I go, and it was almost like transcendental for me. Like, I can't remember which song it was, but just like the combination of the harmonies with all the different singers and like how driving some of their, I don't know if it's the banjo or if it was or what it was, but like it was almost like an outer body experience for me. It was really weird. And then I remember the rest of that summer, that's all I listened to was that album. Yeah. And like it became my source of comfort. Yeah.
Yeah. Which album was that? Was it the one with like was it Sigh No More? Or?
Yes, it was Sigh No More.
Yeah. Was that the name of the album or was that the name of a song? That was like that was when they were massive, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
because
It's not your fault but mine. I really fucked it up this time. That one.
I think so. Oh gosh, it's all like blending in now for me.
I felt like when I saw the only time I saw Ben Howard. Do you know Ben Howard?
Mm-mm.
He's a singer-songwriter out of England, and I saw him at Sasquatch, which is at the Gorge in Washington, 10 years ago, more than that. I never heard of him. He was on one of the small size stages. My brother's girlfriend at the time, his ex-girlfriend, was like, I think you guys would like this guy. And we walked up, and it was just this dude on the stage. And all I can remember is just seeing him on the stage with his guitar, and just the way that he finger picked. I was like, I'm in another universe right now watching this man finger pick. But yeah, you said transcendental, and it's like there's those shows that you see and those live performances that you see, and I feel like myself, I feel so spoiled being at Guilt and Company because I've had moments like that. Like I went in the other day. I always feel bad when I reference Guilt & Co. on this show because I never remember who was playing. I just remember like the moment and the feeling. I'm like, I was sitting here and I had a really amazing time and this artist was great, but I can't even shout out the artist because I'm like, I don't remember who it was. Oh, no. there's so many. I'm just so spoiled working there because there's so many amazing artists that come through, yourself being one of them, who just every time you're there, you just lay it all down. And it's such an amazing thing to be a part of. And it's just such a cool community. And being able to have no talent and be able to still be part of it. I'm like, yay for me.
Amazing. Well, I mean, like you are a part of the community, even though you don't play with us, and there and you
just
support us.
Be there. I'll be there to bring you a drink. As long as you're in the venue that I run, I'll be there to bring you a drink. Otherwise, hopefully I'm on the guest list.
Yeah.
So do you have any other gigs coming up that like outside of Guilt?
Mostly holiday parties now.
Mostly holidays, the corporate gigs.
Yeah. I'll be at Frankie's Jazz Club for the first time.
Cool.
December 23rd.
Who are you playing with?
With Mike Henry.
Mike Henry.
Yeah. So that'll be fun. I think it'll be. I'll be singing some Roberta Flack, and we'll be doing songs by her, Donny Hathaway, and Luther Vandross. So.
Luther Vandross.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Luther
I think it's gonna be a cool show.
As in, wasn't Luther Vandross the guy that recorded the Beauty and the Beast soundtrack?
Did he do that? I probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. And has duetted with Mariah Carey and just like all the greats.
I'm showing my ignorance.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting that there's so many artists who, like, I don't consider you a jazz singer because it's not what I see you sing. So I didn't know you had a jazz background at all. But there's so many artists that I know who have trained, gone to school, have either done, and they're playing everything now from rock and roll to R&B to jazz to blues to swing jazz to whatever it is. Mm-hmm. They've all either trained classical or jazz. It's like you go to music school and you
that's
have
it.
like, well, I went to music school and I had two options.
Yeah.
So, Mozart or Scott Joplin.
Yeah. Well, I think that jazz, yes, jazz is its own thing, mm-hmm. but I think that it translates really well to the popular music world and R&B and soul and all of that. Just with form, like the theory of jazz. Yeah.
I feel like classical music does too, but in a completely like different realm. Because there's obviously like there's you know, like you look at say like jazz is very close related to blues, and blues is closely related to soul and Motown, but it's also like the father of rock and roll, and rock and roll and country are really close.
Yeah.
But country is also really close to bluegrass, which is also then close to blues, which is back close to jazz.
Yeah.
It's like all these different interconnections. But then classical, you got classical music, and then you've got something like this. You listen to like some heavy metal solos.
Oh, yes.
And it's like, that is Rachmaninoff. That's Bach right there. Those are classical composers. My brother, who's a really talented guitarist, transposed, I don't remember what it was, but he transposed a classical piece of music when he was, and I know I feel so, like a ignoramus just saying classical piece of music, because I know that's a broad spectrum.
Yeah.
But he did transpose a piece. And I think it was Bach, but I'm not sure. And just on the electric guitar, and it was so cool, and it was like just a shredding electrical guitar solo that he did when he was like 16 years old.
Yeah.
And it sounded like a metal solo, but it was just straight classical. Like it was just straight, like the composition as it had been written, just on an electric guitar with some distortion and some wah in the appropriate places. And that's what's again, circling back to like music being above everything and interconnecting to everything, because you have all these things and you're like, you see all these connections and all these, it's like this giant organism.
And that's why they say it's a universal language.
It's a universal language.
Right?
Yeah.
It's incredible. Music.
Cheers to music. So before we go, what's on your to-do list as an artist for the next, like, you give me a window, 6 months, year, or 5 years, you pick one.
Oh gosh. Okay. Well, let's say a year. I guess because 2024 is coming. So, blah. First would be to launch my own website, because that's definitely something as an artist and as a performer, I'm establishing my online presence. I'm not very good at it.
Neither am I.
So
Neither am I.
Terrible. So that's something I definitely want to work on, so that people know that I'm essentially here.
That you're there.
Yeah.
And that you're brilliant.
Thank you. That's real sweet. But yeah, that I'm here. As I said, I do want to, as an artist, do more songwriting. It's always something I've wanted to do, but never had time or whatnot. But now that I'm not teaching, I definitely have all that extra time. Yeah. And so me saying that to you, you're going to keep me accountable.
You put it into the universe. I have put it into the going universe. Onto the interwebs.
So if anyone wants to collaborate.
Camera 2.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. That, and yeah, just to do with what I love, and try to make some money doing it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether that's trying to create passive income with writing, or maybe arranging, because that was something that I really enjoyed with teaching at the school, was and because I'd have to adapt everything and create my own arrangements, right? So that's something I'd like to do on a larger scale, with whether it's with bands and things like that. So whether it's arranging, writing, definitely want to do something along the lines of that. So
yeah. Well, it's exciting.
Just create.
And you are, one more time, you're at Guilds and Company, January
5th, if that's the Friday.
And that is with
555 Soul.
That's with 555 Soul.
Yeah.
Which is a killer show. And I look forward to that.
Lots of fun.
I can't wait to see everything that you're going to do. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
This actually has been super lovely.
Great. Well, let's sign off with a cheeky little shot here.
Ooh.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, Tiff.
Thanks, Brandon.